Hi guys, so I've just sat down with Mr. Luke Morley of Thunder to talk about the band's brand new album Dopamine, which is out this Friday on the 29th of April. We spoke about the album itself, the reasons for it becoming a double album, and being honest, I said the same thing to Luke Morley. There are very few, double albums that me as a listener really click into. I think the double albums tend to be a lot of times you can trim the fat and make a really cool, solid album. But I'll be honest with you, 16 tracks of this, I've been proven wrong. There are a few other double albums that I adore as well, but you know, I really struggle to see where they would have cut it and made it a single album. So, yeah, we spoke about the songs on the album, the forthcoming tour, plans for the future. Recording so quickly after All the Right Noises, which of course came out last year, and everything else. And you can hear everything that Luke Morley and I had to say right now. And I'm joined by Mr. Luke Morley of Thunder. How you keeping, Luke, man?
I'm fine, thanks, Lee. All good, all good.
Yeah, glad to hear it. I was just saying off air, obviously, last time I spoke to you, man, was for All the Right Noises. Wasn't quite expecting to talk to you again so quick with new material when you said you were already working on the follow-up.
Well, to be honest, at that moment, we had no idea it would be out as quickly, but the songs just kind of came along very fast. Yeah. And because there wasn't any kind of gigging to do with the last album because of COVID, we were just able to, we just thought, well, sorry, let's just go in the studio and record them. And we did. And across 2 sessions, we recorded 20 songs.
Wow.
And at that point, we thought, well, this is great. Maybe we can get them out in time for the rescheduled tour, which is in May. So we did. And then we thought, well, okay, we'll whittle it down to 11 songs or so, but we couldn't. We tried, but we couldn't get past 16 because we felt that 16 of them deserved hearing. So that's why it's a double album.
I was going to say, like, obviously, did you go with a double album in mind? That was one of the main things, or was it just the way it went out? Because just from a music fan's point of view, there are very few double albums for me personally that are kind of worthy of that. There's a lot where you could sort of trim the fat and make a really cool, solid single album as such. But obviously, you've been kind enough to send the tracks across, and I've been spinning them over the last few days. And like you said, I would struggle to point a song out where you would have to, normally you can say, oh, well, you could have cut this or trim that maybe. Yeah. With the songs you're putting out on this on Dopamine, mate, I'm struggling to work out where you would actually trim it off.
Well, I think that's the problem we had, because there's quite a mixture of styles, really. I mean, it's all Thunder, but it's we've gone down some interesting roads, and it just seemed like they all merited their place. I mean, and that was it. We just, we thought, well, all 16 of these, if we leave any off, then we'll regret it. So we just thought, well, hey, what the hell? It's not the most fashionable thing to do, making a double album, but and our record company winced a bit when we told them, but once they got used to the idea, they were okay.
I think there's loads of people who put out a double album to say, we've done the double album thing, but very few are sort of worthy of it. But I think this one is. I mean, I think is there anybody out there? I think it's possibly one of the most powerful, sort of more ballad type songs that you guys have ever written. As soon as that came over my music system here, it was just like hit me like a sucker punch, man. It's so powerful.
Good, thank you.
Was there any songs on the album? And obviously, we were talking about you haven't been able to play anything from your previous album either. Going back to making choices again, is there any songs for yourself personally that between the 2 albums that you definitely want to be playing live for these May dates?
Well, it's a tricky one because obviously we've not toured for a properly full-on tour, because the last proper tour we did was the Please Remain Seated tour 2019. Oh, yeah. So it's the first full-on rock tour we've done, but I think it's probably 4 years.
Wow.
So we have to bear in mind the fact that lots of people are going to want to hear some of their old favourites.
Of course.
But by the same token, we have 3, if you count this one as a double, 3 new albums to promote effectively. So getting the balance between the 2, I've kind of got it in my head now what we're going to do. But it was quite tricky. It took me a long time to get to the point where I was comfortable and thought we were ticking all the boxes the right way. But, hopefully it'll all work out nicely.
I was going to say, it's got to be tricky for, bands such as yourself who you've been around for a while now, and, you've got, like you say, your back catalogue where people want to play those old favourites, but equally, especially for the last 10, 15 years, you guys have been really focused on, keep producing these new albums and stuff and, not becoming you know, a nostalgia act, for want of a better term. And
Yeah.
the albums have been such as strong as they have been since Wonder Days. I can imagine it's quite tough to try and get that balance right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, we have to make, obviously. I said to somebody earlier that, you know, people these days, you know, it's a lot of money to go to a gig, and money's tight, and it's getting even tighter for a lot of people now. So I think if you are, you know, if we're lucky enough to have a punter choose to come to our gig over somebody else's, then I think they deserve, you know, they have the right to expect to know some songs that are familiar.
Cool.
And I remember going to see bands when I was a kid, and occasionally they would come on and play the whole of the new album, which is a little bit self-indulgent. So much as I would like to play all of the 2 new albums, I don't think it's a very realistic way to go about it. But, you know, who knows what happens beyond this tour? You know, there may be a case for coming back later at some point and doing, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. So if there's any songs off of Dopamine that you're particularly looking forward to playing live?
Yeah, but I don't want to give anything away.
Fair play. Fair enough.
And to be honest with you, there's a couple of ifs or maybes about some songs where we've got, it'll either be that one or that one. So until we actually get in the rehearsal room in a couple of weeks, I won't actually know. So
when you start the rehearsals for the tour then, mate?
We start May 12.
Oh.
Yeah, so it should be good fun. Really looking forward to it.
Oh, I bet. Have you managed to get into a room physically and jam out these songs? And I don't know how the recording process.
Yeah, well, I mean, we with well, certainly with what we did with All the Right Noises was, well, basically I have a studio at home where I make the demos here, send them out to the guys, then we get together in a studio and sort of play them properly, as it were. Yeah, with All the Right Noises, that was before the pandemic, so that was okay. With this album, we just did the normal kind of COVID protocols and tested ourselves, the whole thing. And because we record at Rockfield in Wales, it's kind of residential, it's miles from anywhere, it's in the middle of nowhere. So we weren't interacting with anybody else particularly. So it was quite a safe environment. And to be honest, I think for all of it, it was great to get out of the house for a couple of weeks and,
yeah, I bet.
you know, and have a couple of beers and a chat and do some playing as well. And I think that kind of vibe sort of comes through in the album. I think we're having a very good time. So it's all good.
I think that energy certainly comes through. That, you know, this is, you guys were having fun and enjoying yourself. Was there any songs that were created whilst you were in the studio? Or did you have everything pre-written before sort of going in and working out?
It was pretty much all done. I mean, there were a couple of little additions that happened in the studio. For instance, there's a song called Big Pink Supermoon. Which,
I really like that as a title, by the way. I thought that was a great title.
Thank you. That song, it kind of, once the band got hold of it, the demo, it's not that much of it, but once the band played it, it got this kind of physical sort of weight to it, and it's kind of almost like had a slightly jazzy feel, if anything.
Yeah.
And originally, I envisaged it going out on a guitar solo and everything, but then I thought, well, why don't we try sax? And the rest of them looked at me like I was insane when I suggested it, but I said, trust me, it's going to be all right. And we know this fantastic brass player called Andrew Griffiths, and he had to do it remotely. He did 2 takes of the sax solo at the end and sent them both back to us, and they were both so good that we struggled to choose one, but in the end we did choose one. And the reason the song's 6.5 minutes long is because we couldn't bear to fade it any earlier, because his solo's so good. Yeah, it just keeps kind of getting higher and higher and building, and it was like cutting it off wouldn't have seemed right somehow. So we have like I said, a 2.5 minute sax solo on a Thunder song, which is not something I was expecting, but it works, So
but this is it, like you say, it works at the end of the day. And so there's certain things that might seem a little unorthodox, I guess, but you guys know what works for you and what doesn't. And like, if someone had said to me, "Here's a 6.5 minute song with a 2 minute sax solo in it," I'd be like, okay. Yeah. But listening to it, you're right, it totally works, and I can see why you wanted to cut it off, because, like I say, it builds up those layers, bringing up to the crescendo. It just... Well,
to be honest with you, Lee, we're too old to give a fuck what anybody thinks now. So, we
I'm
like it, so sorry.
I'm not sure I ever have, mate. So I know what you mean.
No, yeah.
Another song I really enjoyed, particularly, was Last Orders. I thought that was really cool. It was, well, to be fair, the whole album, I was struggling to pick a song I didn't enjoy, really. But Last Orders and I already said that. Is there anybody that particularly stood out for me?
Yeah.
That's great, man. So last time I saw you, though, was when you and Danny were doing your spoken word show. I came along to the show at the Apex here in Bury St Edmunds. And That was a great night. So I just wanted to thank you on a personal level for a really good evening, mate.
No, that was I mean, it's such a sort of whenever we, it's obviously the second time we've done it, and I always I'm amazed that people actually are interested in all about old tales, But I guess we've been very lucky. We've been all over the world. We met all sorts of strange people and interesting people. So it's kind of nice to relay some of those kind of tour bus stories and play a couple of tunes. And because we hadn't toured, obviously, for 2 years, it was just nice once again to get out and do it.
When you say about strange people, I seem to remember there being a strange woman at the back who wouldn't show up at one point, but there we go.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, yeah, we do attract them sometimes. Yeah.
But the book off that was great as well. I bought the book off the merch store, man. I've been reading through that.
Right.
Really interesting.
Good.
And the story about Sorrows' small hands made me laugh, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
So you sort of warming up for the tour and everything. Have you got any dates planned after the tour as such, or are you just getting?
Yeah, we're after the tour. We have a run of, I can't remember how many, 5 or 6 festivals in Europe, and most of those were gigs that were scheduled for 2020 or 21. And we're finding this, the whole live sector, if you like, is in complete kind of chaos because there's all these events that got pushed back, and then there's a logjam of future events as well. So it's going to take a little while to sort itself out. I mean, after that, probably won't do anything else this year, but we'll probably find ourselves very busy next year because so we have to wait for this thing to kind of unblock itself and sort itself out. And if you throw Brexit into the mix as well, that makes it even harder. So, hey, such is the life of a musician right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. And a lot of my mates, in fact, one of the bands I deal with for my festival, Piston, are supporting you guys out on this run of dates. And we were talking about it when they played my show, which is held at the Apex. So when we're, everybody knows what everyone's been through the last couple of years. It's just nice to have live music returning, and
absolutely,
when I see, been to see a few bands since, and it's just nice to have it back, man. Really.
Yeah, definitely.
So love the title, by the way, of Dopamine, though, and I remember you mentioning about sort of addiction to social media that was sort of on your mind when we last. But obviously, this is sort of fed into the album overall. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I think the thing about the pandemic, which is it kind of reinforced that kind of whole thing about self and self-analysis, because there's lots of time for people who kind of, in a kind of what's normally a very hectic world to kind of sit back because they couldn't go out, couldn't go anywhere. So it's time for a lot of self-reflection and, and I guess for a lot of people, the phone was the only kind of means of kind of keeping in touch, whether it was via Zoom or, whatever. So, the kind of the social media thing probably came even more important and, magnified and everything by the pandemic. So, yeah, the kind of theme of that, that's the theme that kind of runs through the album, the isolation, bit of loneliness, but there's also the positive side of it. Songs like Dancing in the Sunshine and, have a kind of joy to them. And that's kind of thinking about what's going to happen once it's all over. And, and the one that's a single at the moment, it'll come to me in a minute. It's called
Across the Nation.
Thank you. Sorry, I've been talking song titles all day. My brain's a bit scrambled. But Across the Nation, same thing. That's what. Looking forward to when everybody can get back in the room and have fun again. And the thinking about the dopamine thing was that obviously that led to the visual idea for the sleeve and the cover and the artwork and everything. So it all kind of tied up quite neatly in the end.
Yeah, I bet you're waiting to go away to get on the stage because obviously, like you did the streaming things during lockdown, which must have been pretty sure to try and do a stadium show to a camera.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we did have we did a section of the show where we had a lot of the fan club members tuning in like this via Zoom, and we had them all on TV screens in front of us, and that was a sort of odd. That was like an episode of Black Mirror or something. It was very futuristic and strange, but it was amazing. Even though there wasn't anybody in the room, as soon as all the Zoom screens came on, the band's performance level went up. It was amazing. It was like, whoa, audience, and the adrenaline started to flow and everything. So it does make a massive difference. And, trying to play live is great, but in isolation with no audience is really weird. It's kind of not like it was supposed to be.
No, like you say, you're supposed to have that interaction, that feedback going back and forth between
for sure,
artist and audience. So that must have been pretty surreal. But it sounds like as soon as those Zoom screens went on, there was almost that interaction there.
Yeah, almost the next best thing, if you like.
Yeah, it's never going to be. You're never going to beat being in the same room. That's
no.
That's what live music's about for me. Certainly.
Absolutely.
So you are planning anything special for the particular May dates, or are you just going out there and giving it all?
Well,
I've been able to for so long.
Once again, I don't want to give anything away. We obviously we're having a lot of those discussions now. So I mean, we just want it to be as much of a good experience for people, because I mean, some people bought these tickets 2 years ago, so and a lot's happened since then. So we want it to be as much fun as it can possibly be, and send everybody home happy as usual. And we're sort of still talking about the staging and the lighting and all that sort of stuff. So but it will be good.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen you perform a bad show, mate, so I don't know.
Thank you.
That's cool. So what does the rest of the year and sort of into 2023 hang out for you guys that we might not have spoken about?
It's a good question, actually. As I said earlier, I think after our summer run in the festivals, there won't be a lot going on gigging wise, but there will be a lot of toing and froing and backwards and forwards and setting up next year. So nothing I can really talk about at the minute, which is a bit frustrating. But as the year goes on, when we get past the summer, I think we're going to start announcing things for next year. So, like I said, it's just this huge bloody logjam at the moment, and we're trying to our thought agent is ripping his hair out trying to find a way around everything. But we'll get there. We'll get there in the end, I'm sure.
Yeah, like you say, it's a business side thing. Sometimes I know I've had that even with my show that I put on, and that's just a one-off thing, and sometimes a bottlenecks with trying to make announcements, make everything line up properly. So
it's difficult. But, hey, we'll get there. We'll get there in the
end. So if anyone's heard the singles, not bought the album yet, what would you say to them in terms of?
Well, I think it's an interesting album. I think if you like Thunder and you're familiar with Thunder, I think you'll enjoy it, because I think it ticks the usual Thunder boxes, but also a couple of other ones. And I don't let the fact it's a double album put you off. I mean, we like I said, we agonised very hard over the making sure the standard of tunes was great all the way through, and it's I know size isn't everything, but don't let the length put you off.
Definitely. All right, mate. Well, we're gonna play Across the Nation, with it being the latest single, at the beginning of the interview. But what song off the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Well, as we've been talking about it, why not Big Pink Superman?
Definitely, I'm up for that. I love that song. That was great. All right, Luke, thanks for your time again, mate. It was great to chat to you, and hope to speak to you soon.
No worries, Lee. Take care now.
You too, mate. Cheers, man.
All the best.